offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. We've got over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. Call them today at 466-4938.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Thought That Get Results. I'm Reverend Weber Herbert, and as per usual we're here every Tuesday evening with something that at least we think is of community interest and or of some concern. And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, you'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program, well, why don't you drop us a line, address it to the Let's Talk program in care of Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195 Charlestown in Nevis, or give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. By the way, those will be the numbers you'll use to be a part of this evening's discussion. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, Thought That Get Results. With regard to your participation in the show, we encourage you to call in on the numbers listed 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. If you have a question or comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that you're well organized. And when you're getting on the show, you take as little time as possible so we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect others, respect yourself, because we will not accept anything we deem not within our broadcast standards. Thank you all again for joining us, your voice in the community, Talk That Get Results. You can also join us on our YouTube channel. Click YouTube, click Vaughan Radio, and you're on to see the video stream live. Also, you can go to our Facebook page and you can join us on our website, vaughanradio.com. Tonight, we've got two segments of the show. First segment, we'll be speaking with some of the folks from the First Caribbean International Bank. I hope I got that right. First Caribbean International Bank, and they're doing an annual walk every year. They're walking for cancer cure. We'll find out if they've found it yet. We may be closing in on it, right? Okay, so we thank them very much for being here this evening, and we'll find out how you can be a part of it. The Walk for Cancer Cure. Jasmine K. Paris is the branch manager of the First Caribbean International Bank on Nevis. Good evening, Miss Paris.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Herbert. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here this evening.
Latanya Jones is the assistant customer sales manager.
Assistant Customer Service Manager.
That's a heavy name. That's why I get tripped up with it. Well, it's good to have you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Herbert.
And Arundel Do is the acting sales specialist.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Herbert.
Good evening, and thank you all again once again for coming here. Well, why don't we do this before we get into why you're here? Give us a little background, a sales pitch on First Caribbean International Bank.
Well, Webo, I think First Caribbean speaks for itself. The fact that it is first, it means that it is first for basically everything. Service, products, whatever you can think of, you can get it at First Caribbean. And we are like you, Webo. Only the best would do.
Only the best will do. Okay. So, and you do this, you've been doing this walk annually?
We've been doing it annually, yes, and this is our 8th year.
8th year. What happens when you have it? I know you got some stuff you want to say and so on, but what happens when you do it in terms of, is everybody invited?
Of course, and that is why we're here this evening, so we can invite the general public. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Herbert, once again. And good evening to all listeners in Radioland and those joining us via social media. Like I would have introduced myself earlier, I'm Jasmine Paris. I am the branch manager here on Nevis. I have in the studios with me Latonia Jones, the Assistant Customer Service Manager, and Aaron Del Dor, the Acting Sales Specialist. Our walk manager, Putiel Kelly, he's not here with us this evening, and however, we apologize for that at this point. We are extremely honored and excited this evening to be a part of this amazing demonstration of selflessness for our flagship event, the Walk for the Cure 2019. The staff of CIBC First Caribbean here in St. Kitts and Nevis and across the region in the 15 other territories where we have a presence are committed to this cause and have planned and executed a range of creative and innovative fundraising efforts during the course of this year to ensure that we surpass the totals raised last year. We are aiming even higher this year. With that said, I am thrilled to report that the efforts of our staff, combined with the amazing generosity of corporate sponsors, have so far raised over $2 million regionally to assist those battling cancer in the Caribbean. Our goal is to raise $550,000 in 2019 for the various organizations that partner with us regionally. And I firmly believe that at this rate, we will not only meet, but we will surpass the target as well. I mentioned earlier that this is our 8th year, and the work is being done regionally. Locally, we have had various sponsors. The efforts of these corporate sponsors, coupled with the creative and tireless efforts of hundreds of CIBC First Caribbean employees, have propelled the fundraising from a modest $30,000 at the inception of the walk 7 years ago to a staggering $512,000 raised in 2018. And this is in the Caribbean alone. Funds raised locally in all territories are donated to cancer groups dedicated to changing lives. You see, the Walk for the Cure is more than just a fundraiser. It is answering the call to be our brother's keeper. It is about providing comfort and care to many whose lives are ravaged by this disease. It is about education and early detection. It is about saving lives. This year, our walk is slated for this coming Saturday, October 26, starting at 6 a.m. And this year, we're doing it on the theme, Hope in Motion. Now, this event, this yearly crusade of thousands joining hearts and hands, rallying for a cure against cancer, has become our corporate heartbeat. And it is not only my vision, but the vision of our CEO, our work managers, and all our employees. We will continue to invest our time and energy so that this very important initiative will continue to grow, so much so that we will soon be quoting figures raised in the million US. Now, I'll invite Ms. Jones, who will provide specific details on the walk for this coming Saturday.
Good evening again to Radio Land. As previously mentioned, this year's walk will be held this coming Saturday, the 26th October, starting promptly at 6 a.m. Our gathering time is at 5:30 a.m. The route for the walk, we would begin at the Old Artisan Village, then take a left on the Island Main Road along the TDC Home and Building Depot, heading straight across to Pump Road. Then we would make a right down towards the cemetery next to Delta Petroleum, keeping on the island's main road, then through Charlestown onto the Samuel Hunkins Drive, and then ending at the Old Artisan Village. The Nevis Red Cross unit would be on hand, as well as the police from the Royal St. Kitts and Nevis Police Force, offering patrol and escort services for the entire walk. We would like to take a moment to highlight some of our sponsors and contributors for this year. Mr. Clive Evelyn of Evelyn's Constructions, Best Buy Supermarket, Nelson Spring Bottling Company Limited, Ryan Maynard of Refined Digital Media, or RIFIC, Samuel Fish Richards of Rec Life, Coscab, and Mr. Everett Weber Herbert and his team of One Radio. Just for information purposes, the previous funds that were raised were donated to the Pink Lily Cancer Group here on Nevis, Essence of Hope in St. Kitts, and also the Nevis Island Administration, namely the Ministry of Health. Now I would have my partner, Mr. Dorr, to provide some safety tips to our walkers.
Good evening, listeners and viewers. I am Arundel Dorr, just here to share with you a few safety tips when joining us on our walk on the 26th of October. First, warm up by doing stretches before and after the walk. A coach will be on hand to direct this activity. Gathering time is at 5:30 a.m. Warm up will happen between the time and 6 a.m. will be move off time. Beware of your body. If it does not feel right, stop. Get a walking buddy. Pace yourself. It is okay to rest in between. Walk facing oncoming traffic. We need you to be very careful on the road. Stay alert and focus. As far as possible, walk on the side of the road. Wear comfortable shoes and clothing. Wear the walk shirt that can be collected at the branch prior to the walk or on the day of the event, donating $25. Stay hydrated. Drink water before, during, and after the walk. Water will be available for all patrons, so please ensure that you collect. Like mentioned, the shirts would be available, and we would also have them available for purchase at the Charleston Nevis branch.
Thank you. Okay, so just to reiterate, at this point, I would like to just after the walk, we will gather at the Old Artisan Village, and there we will have some light refreshments will be offered. We would also have a photo booth available for persons who would like to take photos. Now, in the past, what we have also done, we have done various we have done a number of symbolic activity where we either do the release of balloons or the release of lanterns, yes, in memory of those persons who would have passed on, or even survivors who would have kicked this terrible disease, cancer. I would also like at this opportunity to just remind the general public that shirts are still available at the branch for collection. I would normally tell my team, the shirts don't cost $25. So we are really making a donation to the general public. But we are asking you to make a donation towards the cause of $25 or more, of course. And I would also like to make an appeal at this point to other corporate sponsors who have not yet come on board to support the event. You can always reach out to ourselves. My number is 469-7162 or 662-5201, or you can reach out to our walk manager, Pewtail Kelly, and his number is 869-469-5467.
Let me ask this. The walk for cancer is not specifically limited to ladies.
No, it's not, Rebel. It is for all ages.
And it's not specifically reference to only breast cancer.
No. Oh, no. We cover all types of cancers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And everybody's invited on the walk. Male, female, everybody.
Male, female. As a matter of fact, Rebel, it started out as a family affair. We asked that family and friends join. So you bring your wife, your children, your grandmother, your grandfather, and so on. Like we said, we have the Red Cross will be on hand to provide any sort of emergency medical services. So we encourage one and all to come on out.
Indeed, you don't have to be a professional walker.
No, not at
If
all.
you're not accustomed to be exercising and so on and so forth, you can still go.
As a matter of
And you
fact,
can walk at your own pace, right?
yes, because if you looked at the road that we gave you, it is not that difficult. The most challenging part of that walk
bypass road.
is on the bypass road. But outside of that, it's a real nice, cool walk.
And if you have a friend and you're talking,
It makes it
wouldn't-
even easier.
You wouldn't even
You wouldn't even
notice
notice.
the distance you cover, right?
That is
And it's a
correct.
beautiful. What have been some of the experiences that you have heard people or maybe yourself have had by doing this walk?
Well, I can tell you, Webo, that we started out with maybe about initially 70-something persons. Over the years, it has grown, and we did about 200 something last year. But I'm hoping this year, Webo, that we can break the record and do at least 500. At least.
This will help, the fact that you're here.
Well, I'm hoping
That'll
so.
help. That'll help. And maybe if I send along Edric, he normally have a legion of fans, so that might boost it up to 500.
We would welcome that as well.
Okay, so the route again is what?
We'll start at the old Artisan Village, take a left onto the Island Main Road, then to TDC Home and Building Depot, across, head on to the Bypass Road, then we'll go straight to Pump Road, make a right towards the cemetery next to Delta Petroleum, keeping on the Island Main Road, through Charlestown, then onto the Samuel Hunkins Drive, and ending at the old Artisan Village. Where we start is the point that we will end, basically.
And when do you start? What
At
time?
6 o'clock a.m., sorry.
And this is one walk, or one event,
Yes.
in which it's okay to be late,
No.
but you can't be late.
No. No.
So-
We would really like persons to shop early.
Okay.
5:30 is gathering time.
Yes.
And we're hoping during that time we can do some stretches and so on. Because remember our safety tips. We encourage persons to come early so that we can do the relevant stretches and so on. So even for those walkers who have not walked for a long time,
Yes.
once they stretch and they do whatever is necessary, it makes it a lot easier for them to cover the walk.
And the sooner you get out of the heat of the sun, the better it
Yes,
is.
of course, because
Definitely.
lately, 6 o'clock is bad morning.
Yes. Okay, so the shirts again. Today is what, Tuesday, and they have between now and they can collect the shirts
No,
early.
Saturday, actually, because the shirts would be on site.
Right, but for now, if you want to do it before, you can come to the bank.
Just
Yes,
come to the
definitely.
branch and collect the shirts.
But if not, when they get there on Saturday,
While stock lasts.
While stock lasts.
Yes.
Yes.
well, let me ask you this: what if they don't have a designed official shirt? Can they still walk?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, but what we don't want persons to do is to lose sight of the cause.
Yes.
Because I know some persons might come and say, oh, I have on my own shirt and there's no need to make a contribution. We welcome contributions nonetheless because we want to be able to make a substantial donation. And as I don't think we might have mentioned, we would have in the past supported Pink Lily. All donations this year as well as last year we made to Pink Lily Cancer Care.
And outside of donating for the shirt, can you just donate?
Of course.
And how do they do that?
You can do that by calling the branch, or you can come into the branch and see myself or any member of staff to make that donation. We will, of course, record their names and we'll give them the public acknowledgement where necessary.
All right. So, and finally, see you on Saturday.
Yes, please. 5:30.
5:30.
Sharp. Sharp.
Anything? Well, who's got the last word here and now?
Well, Webo, I would like to take this opportunity to thank us, we on behalf of the management and staff of CIBC, First Caribbean International Bank. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Webo, and your team for affording us this opportunity to be here in the studios this evening to advertise this very, 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 very important event, our Walk for the Cure 2019. Remember, we are aiming to raise $550,000 throughout the Caribbean. And so we are hoping that Nevis would make a substantial dent in that amount. The more we raise, the more we can give locally to the cancer group to help all of us or all those persons who are affected by the disease. So, and I would also like to ask you to remind the general public, the walk is Saturday, this coming Saturday, 26th October. It starts at 6 a.m. move off time. We gather at 5:30 a.m. and so we are asking persons to please come out. We are hoping to make our quota of 500 persons this year. And thank you so much, Webo, for having us.
Jasmine K. Paris is the branch manager of the First Caribbean International Bank. Latonia Jones, is it Latonia?
Yes, it is.
Latonia Jones is the assistant customer service manager, and Arundel Dorr, the acting sales specialist. They are also members of the committee that is organizing and putting on this walk on Saturday. Starts at 6 o'clock. They're asking you to assemble at 5:30 at
the Old Artisan Village.
By the old cinema.
Yes.
Okay, well, and anybody can join in?
Anybody.
Okay. So we thank them very much for being a part of the show this evening. That is the first segment. The second segment in this show, don't miss it. We'll be back after these.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. We've got over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. Call them today at 466-4938.
Sugar City St. Kitts. Keep it sweet. Keep listening to Vaughn.
Back on this episode of Thought That Get Results. We'll be in with the second segment in just a moment. The first segment featured representatives from the First Caribbean International Bank. We talked with them a little bit about the Walk for Cancer Cure that's coming up this Saturday. Everybody is invited to join in. You can go to the bank and donate $25 to get a t-shirt. Go and the walk is on Saturday next to the old cinema in Charlestown or the old Artisan Village. That's where the walk starts. So again, thank you all for being with us for the first segment. The second segment kicks off right now. Dr. Patricia Bartlett, good evening.
Good evening, Webo. Good evening to the listening audience. Good evening to my fellow family.
Dr. Patricia Bartlett, good evening.
Good evening, Webo. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the entire listening and viewing audiences. It is indeed a pleasure to be here tonight, Webo, and I thank you for the invitation to join you. If I may, I would just like to single out a few people, who I would like to a few persons who I would like to wish a good evening. Sensei, I'm hoping that you're still not in the hospital, that you're home and you're doing much better. Cousin Sinwick in the Instant Kids, and Pam, Mr. Martin in the VI, my friends in the USA, my friends across the pond, particularly my husband, and of course, what about the people who are in places like Taiwan? I know they're far removed from here, and I would just like to bid them a good evening.
Conrad Nair Liebert, good evening.
Good evening, Webo, and pleasant good evening to your hard-working staff here at Vaughan Radio, to my colleagues around the table, good evening, and to everyone in tune to this program via the various means, good evening. Webo, it's a pleasure to be here once again, and of course, just wanted to use this opportunity to encourage people out on the walk on Saturday. Yes, I think it's a worthy cause. Supporting cancer is something that we're dealing with. So yes, I joined that team of people, those voices that say come out and walk is physically, of course, a good thing for you, and the cause is fundamental to a healthier society. Webo is happy to be here tonight, and I'm looking forward to a good discussion. Thank you for having me.
Edric W. Stanley, good evening.
Good evening, Webo. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the listening audience. Good evening to all those who are viewing us on the World Wide Web and throughout the Caribbean. The World Wide Web, Facebook, YouTube, and I'm certain in a short while we will have maybe another medium. Those who are listening to us, we are hoping that you will always follow us on Tuesday. Last Tuesday, of course, we've all had a great group on, and of course, I hope you people have learned a lot regarding how to save money and what they did. Of course, I came, I saw. Eventually, I had to leave, but it was a good show last week, Webo. But it seemed as though it was a millennium since we've been here. But this tells you how committed I am and the rest of the panelists are with reference to disseminating information so that we can all guide our country and peoples upward and onward. Webo, dovetailing into those people that you've just had on with reference to health, cancer especially, I am hoping that a certain amount of effort can be put toward gathering some of the herbalists who are fully aware of our Garden of Eden. And I just believe if our people begin to understand what we have in the garden, in our Garden of Eden in Nevis, it would be just as beneficial, or even more in my view, than the walk and all the other things that they're implementing for good health. The lady who we laid to rest, one of our centurions, I hope that she has passed on a lot of information as to why she lived this long. And I just believe, based on what I heard, that she passed on simply because her grandson left, and just like a baby, and as an older person, you're once again like a baby, broke heart based on the absence of that particular person, and decided to curtail her numbers on the board. But like I said, based on what we have in our Garden of Eden, I am beginning to make the clarion call with the hope that a program could be initiated gathering the herbalists in Nevis, those who trek into the mountain and the forest, those who know the herb that would keep us well and also reduce obesity. I think it would have just as big, if not larger, beneficial effect on our health. The hospital ship that was here, a gentleman made a comment, and when I listened to the comment, he said that the hospital ship should not be trusted, simply because these people operate around the world and they do terrible things to us as a race. And I said, boy, this fellow, maybe he was responsible enough to disseminate that kind of information. But he did mention that they were in South Africa and what happened in South Africa. They didn't assist in bringing down apartheid in terms of whites against black. And that's really not true, because I know quite a number of companies that were sanctioned. To the end, they had to leave South Africa simply because they were supporting apartheid. And ultimately, apartheid was dismantled. But that part of his dissertation, I totally disagreed with. But at the same time, I think he had a message to our people. Anyhow, the hospital ship was here, and I believe many of our people benefited from the services rendered with reference to health. I hope they will continue to come and come more often. I will leave it at this juncture, Webo. I have a few more things to put on the table.
Back on this episode of Thought That Get Results, our first segment featured and highlighted the Walk for Cancer Cure that's happening this weekend. You want to try and check that out. Our second segment, the heavyweights are in. Edric, you go ahead and deal with the other stuff that you have to deal with.
Well, let me just say that sometimes we have to go back on a few things that might have been said. Well, how many baskets do you know? You get a fruit basket, you have flower basket, and you have a dung basket. You know what a dung basket is, Webo?
No.
Well, they don't make them anymore. But they used to be the baskets made by the people of Rollin from bamboo. And of course, when people want to spread the dung from the animals across the land for, I guess, plants, the betterment of plants, fruits and vegetables as the case might be, then the dung basket was used. But I must admonish maybe some of our people not to allow people to give them political dung to carry in those baskets. And in that regard, I can just label the item regarding that house at Bath Village, that property at Bath Village. That was some dung, political dung that they were given to carry in these baskets. And be fully aware that as the silly season is close at hand, a lot more political dung would be given to be carried in those baskets. And therefore, let us keep our eye out, be focused, and to determine whether or not we're going to carry political dung in those baskets. Well, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, but you had a number of things. I wanted to deal with them because I have a few things I want to deal with.
But Brexit, of course.
No, so you go ahead.
We are recognizing that they have made some advancement regarding Brexit, and I still hope that it would not come to fruition simply because we have enjoyed a certain degree of peace, tranquility with the association and the connection with NATO. I am a firm believer in the Western Alliance. I do not like communism. We do practice a certain degree of socialism because we do have to reach out and help here and there to some who cannot help themselves. But when it comes to communism, where you got a police state and those people who are fighting the West to ensure that they can dominate with reference to a police state, where people would be lined up on the beaches and shot without even giving a hearing or a trial, because when you have dictatorial governments and leaders, that is one of the big thing with reference to governance. And therefore, we have to be fully aware of Putin's ideology. Gentlemen in China, is Ping, the Ayatollah in Iran, and some of the other people in the Middle East. And we have to ensure that those kinds of ideologies do not catch root in the West, neither in Venezuela nor Cuba. Fortunately, Cuba is coming more as a democratic country, and as a result, its peoples are beginning to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps by doing things for themselves, opening businesses, and ultimately using certain things in the free enterprise system, which is part of our democracy in the West, to better themselves and to enhance their quality of life. And truly, I would like people to clearly understand the difference between a totalitarian government and the rule of law, democracy in the West, and how we govern ourselves. Fortunately, the length of time I've been on Earth has been good with reference to the democratization of the island or islands we have lived. And it gave me an opportunity to pull myself up by my own bootstraps and to be where I am today. And therefore, I'm saying we cannot entertain the idea of totalitarianism, communism, where it becomes a police state, and when time comes that you disagree with the powers that be, leaders as the case might be, the government as the case might be, they line you up and they shoot you, they kill you. You have no rights as the case might be, and therefore we must clearly understand it. Weber, I leave it there.
Okay, any comments on any of those issues that Mr. Stanley raised?
Well, I'm just afraid Stanley is a bit extreme. And Stanley, I hope you would not be an extreme leader if you do find yourself in a political leading position. Communism or totalitarianism is not always as extreme as you put it. There are countries that have employed those systems that have shown a high degree of success. One example is China, and of course it's the world's second largest economy. It's quite a threat to the world. It seems to be carrying out an exercise of economic colonialism throughout the globe. I think that's testimony to their strength and endeavor. We are seeing now in the capitalist country, we are seeing now in America, we are seeing now in democratic countries, as there is example in America today, a political system that is full of problems, really, full of loopholes, full of circumstances need to be ironed out. And one of the most important thing that such system creates is that gap between the rich and the poor. And as we see the rich, that gap continues to widen all the time. And if you look at your TV, you will find there's so much riots around the world today. And they have a lot to do with the dissatisfaction of the people. A lot of the people, we know in Hong Kong, they say they want democracy. Even Venezuela argue that they have democracy, but it's of a different type. So we got to be careful when we speak of different political system and political ingredients, various degree of socialism or capitalism. So you just cannot be so absolute, Mr. Stanley. I'm sure if a lot of the leaders of the world was as absolute and extreme as you are, there would have been constant war. But it's not like that, really. There are good examples of communist country. There are good examples of countries that America would look at as dictatorship. And just remember, a lot of the failed states we are seeing now, like Libya and Iraq, it's been caused by the West. The West intervention in their political in their political life, and create a vacuum and then pull out. We're seeing what's going on in Syria today with your friend Trump. Trump decided to pull out, and it's a global concern. It's a global argument, you know, and things seems to escalate in the Middle East, and Putin is now a major and a stronger player there. So we're just looking on, and we just cannot be sometimes, as we sit down here in the Caribbean, very absolute and certain about what is really going on. We can just really, of course, we can't help being critical. But what I would like of us in this region is to adapt a system that works for us. Now that we realize democracy have various types, it seems like, that is important to us. We adapt a system that works for us, and not to be always told or guided as it relates to our way forward in the political system we embrace. Yes, Webo, just wanted to make those points.
The thing is that
Edric W. Stanley, Conrad Nyaliber, Dr. Patricia Bartlett, and a special good evening to Ted Hobson and the Honorable Spencer Brand. They're not here this evening. Okay, I will apologize for that short break, but I was mentioning we've got with us Edric W. Stanley, Conrad Nyaliber, Dr. Patricia Bartlett, and a very pleasant evening to the Honorable Spencer Brand and Ted Hobson. Now, I got a couple of things we want to take care of. First of all, everybody gives me messages to carry out. Somebody gave me a message. Edric, you know where the Anglican Church rectory is in Charlestown?
yes, we're wide open.
Okay. You see a wall that is going up there?
Yes,
What do you think of it?
I think it is very, very nice, and it gives a certain amount of space. I believe the church may have given to the public a certain amount of its real estate to bring the wall, or to
So you think the wall is...
It is,
great.
it is,
Okay.
Webo.
You think they're doing a good job?
an excellent job. Sometimes you would believe that some of these younger masons don't have the skills, but they do have the skills, and that wall, it just looks nice,
Okay.
and it expands the width of the road.
Okay. Well, that is what I was asked to ask you. What do you think of the job that they're doing on the wall?
Excellently.
Oh, I told those guys are pretty good. It's a very strong wall, it seems, as well.
Well, it's of natural stone, and I would say this, that it looks good. It's professionally done.
I was trying to garner some of the names of the guys who work this to give them a little push. You know any of them?
One is my cousin.
Right.
We call him Bobby.
Oh, and you're not going to tell me you taught him?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, but he has done his piece there.
Okay. So you know Bobby, and you know anyone else?
I know all the guys, but not by name.
But they're doing a good job.
An excellent job.
Okay, here's what I suggested to them. That in my own humble view, I think they asked me whether or not you can put in, a little word for them. But I thought that they can well be in contention for building the wall that your president wants to build.
Well, sure, well, and I am certain these guys got the capacity and the ability to build that wall.
Yeah, but okay, all right.
And they'll make a good buck.
Okay. All right. Having done that, on to what I wanted to deal with tonight. Now, for a few weeks or months, I made the bold comment, and I said I was told by political pundits that if you think that the last election was rough, put on your seatbelts, right? Remember that?
Quite so.
And you can tell that election is close by. But what I notice is happening is the incidence of the advertisements on the social media, the fake accounts and the news and the videos and all this thing that's happening, the same thing that happened in the American elections. And we had a situation, I think today in the news, where the Prime Minister, Dr. Harris, is putting out a statement distancing himself from a couple of Facebook accounts that seemingly are purported to be his. The leader of the opposition, Dr. Douglas, similarly was distancing himself from some video that is going around, say it is a fake video, and so on and so forth. So you have all that being ramped up. Now, the discussion and the debate is, I remember in the case of the United States, where you had one on the Bidens the other day, and the Democrats were asking the people from Facebook to take it down because it was lies and so on and so forth. So the ongoing discussion and debate as to who should be the police for these inaccurate information and so on and so forth, and what some people are calling lies. And the Facebook owner, president, says, no, I don't think that we should be doing that, determine what is lies, what is not true, and what is true. And some people argue maybe the media should do it, and so on and so forth. I have my own view as to how we, that can be done, but I'll probably mention it a little later. So, it is against that backdrop, and the fact that we've been at this for a while, that I'm pledging to our listeners how we will deal with some of these issues, as we have done in the past. What happened was in the 80s, late 80s, we came on there, and especially in the 90s and so on and so forth. Edric, we used to have debates, interviews with the people who were taking part in the elections and so on and so forth. And, we had the opportunity to cross-examine and to fact-check and so on and so forth. But things have changed, where everybody has their own media now and their own access and everything and so on. So it's harder to police. However, that should not discourage or daunt you from, when things come in your domain, to deal with it by the same standards. And I'm going to present some evidence tonight of two such issues that we dealt with recently. And I'm going to play back the tape so that people can see how these issues were being discussed, circulated in other areas and so on. But when it came in our arena, how we dealt with it, and then persons who, at least are in our audience, had a good example or facts or evidence to make their own judgment as to whether the accusations were true or not. So I'm going to play back that information to remind us. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hello. Good evening, Mr. Weber. Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Could you go ahead?
Good evening, Mr. Weber. Good evening to your panel.
Good
I haven't
evening.
called this radio station in a while, but I choose to call tonight based on what is going on in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I recall sometime last year, I called to this program concerning an issue at the airport. I guess some people didn't take it too serious. Remember, it was a joke. I don't know if you guys have seen the video with what's taking place at the airport some months ago with the minister in charge of the airport. I don't know if you guys also have heard the rebuttal with the said minister in the United States of America. You see, this is the problem in our country. People are afraid to call wrong and right. I mean, when I look at that video, working at the airport for 15 years, that said minister should resign with immediate effect.
Okay, here's the thing, though.
Yeah?
I'm not so sure I'm abreast of what you're referencing.
Oh, you're not too sure if you're abreast. So you have not seen the video.
But
You have not heard about the video.
no, but that's what I'm saying. I'm not certain of what you speak.
Wow, I find that very strange because Mark Brantley is supposed to be writing a report concerning the airport issue.
So therefore, whatever Mark Brantley knows, I'm supposed to know.
No, I'm not telling you that, sir.
But you
What I'm
see,
saying-
you seem
No.
you work with me. Work
I'm working with you.
with me. You
Yeah,
seem to
I didn't
suggest.
tell you that.
You seem to suggest.
No, I'm not suggesting that, sir.
I could finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I told you that I was not so sure I'm abreast of something. You said it's strange that I am not abreast of it because Mark Brantley is supposed to write a report. So you're hinging the fact that I don't know that because once Mark Brantley is supposed to write a report, therefore, isn't it logical to conclude I'm supposed to know?
Technicality, Mr.
What is
I'm not trying to conclude that, Mr. Weber. I just said that out of that. I didn't mean it that you should know. Okay? So don't take it that way.
Okay.
What I'm saying, Mr. Weber, in a serious note, the issue at the airport, I think by now, is a video.
Okay, why don't we do this? Without referencing anybody's name and so on, give us a sort of general idea. Was there an incident? What was it?
It is that the said minister walked through. There was somebody being screened at the time. Said minister went past the person, walked through, and did not screen, not show ID. Full breach. Full breach of what happened. But the big thing about it, that the said minister said it did not happen. So I'm finding it strange now that the video has circulated. He's now in the United States of Miami, was talking concerning the same video. So I hope by next week, Mr. Weber, I'm asking you, please, if you can try and find out and update me by next week, Tuesday, if you had to happen to see the video, or if you have WhatsApp, I could send you the video. I could send you both videos. So can we do that? Or you will try and find out yourself? Or the good lady there, she seems very versed in everything. So can the good lady there try and help us in finding the issue based on what took place at our RLB International Airport?
So,
The said minister?
okay. So you're saying that an incident took place and the person who the incident involved said that it never took place,
Yep.
and you have evidence
Full,
to the contrary,
full evidence.
right?
Full evidence.
Right, and you would like me to let everybody know about it. That's what your request is?
Once you get the evidence, because I want you to get the evidence,
Yes.
Doesn't quite have.
You would like me to have the evidence?
Yes, so when you come next week, you have a week to do your homework.
Right. And then what?
Well, because the nation needs to know.
So the nation does not know?
So something is wrong.
No, what I'm saying...
The leader in Nevis has the information too, because he said he have the report. He's supposed to bring the report to the country, which is Mark Bradley.
Okay, so you would like me to get ahead of Mark Brantley?
No, you're not going ahead of him.
But you just
I'm talking
work
about
with me, work with me, work with me, work with me. You just said the leader in Nevis, Mr. Brantley, says that he has the report and he's going to bring it to the country. Did I hear that correctly?
His report, yes.
Okay.
I'm not saying go ahead of him with his report.
Just work with me.
Yeah.
So you said earlier your objective is you would like the country to know.
I'll let you see get the report from Mark, but you can't bring
No, work with me.
Yeah.
You said there was this particular thing and you would like the country to know. And so that is where my role came in, correct?
Yeah.
Now, you subsequent to that, you told me that Mr. Brantley, the minister, says he has the report and he will bring it to the country, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we do that?
So wait till Mark Bradley bring the report?
But didn't you say he said he's going to bring it?
I'm saying to you, though.
Yes. But he has the report.
Hear me.
Yes.
Hold on. Don't try to question and tell me.
Okay.
What I'm saying, there's a video. I don't know what Mark got. He say he has a report. I don't know what he has. I'm saying there's a video circulating at the moment.
Yes.
With the said minister. There's also another video with the same minister in Miami last night reporting on the same video. I'm saying I want you to look at the original video and listen to his rebuttal and bring it next week. That's all I'm asking for.
And bring it next week.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Have a good night.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for holding. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Weber. Good evening to your panel. Have you follow up on the situation we speak about last week, Mr. Weber?
Which was what? Before you're going into that, might I just ask you a question outside of what you're saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want you to give your identity, but I just want to check because a friend of mine told me that you were the fellow who promised us the trip to St. Kitts one time. That's true?
Me were the fellow who promised you what?
A trip to St. Kitts one time to watch cricket or something.
Oh, yes, I did.
It was you. Okay. I just checking. I'm just checking.
I don't follow up on the promises.
You just follow up.
Yeah.
And that was about 2007, right?
Well, you didn't remind me.
I didn't remind you. I got you. Okay, so let's go back to what you were saying.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm asking you, did you follow up? Two things to find out about. Did you follow up on the situation I told you with Honorable Mark Brantley with the report, or have you by any chance seen the tape with what happened at the airport with the minister, Patrick Less?
Yeah, but I think we probably had agreed to disagree because I think my position was you told me that the minister said that he was going to give a report on the matter, and I said that my preference would be to get the report from the minister who would have, done whatever investigation and so on. Am I not correct?
Yeah, but I asked
Okay.
also, there's a videotape that is circling around. So I was asking you by chance, have you seen the tape?
And I told you no.
Okay. Well, can I, by any means, send you the tape? Or can I get the tape to you?
Okay, this is a light moment. You can get it to me, providing work with me. Providing you don't get it to me the way you got me that offer.
No.
Okay, so yes, you can call me off here or call me tomorrow.
I don't know what is that number.
Same number.
Same number. Okay.
Yeah.
Another question.
Yeah.
Another question while I'm here. I heard.
But before we get off of that, let me ask you this: did you take the opportunity to ask the Honorable Mark Brantley?
Sir, I called the Honorable Mark Brantley earlier. I even called your radio station because I'm going to identify me. I'm the guy with the same situation I called.
No. So you didn't?
hear me. Just give me a second.
Okay, all right.
Let me finish.
Yes.
I called to Mark Brantley's show. And every time I call to the show to express or say anything, it's some kind of disrespect. So
Give me an example of you calling and what you
Because
said.
I called-
No, work with me. Give me an example of when an instance when you called and you said something and he disrespected you.
Concerning the same thing, I will
Yeah.
push it off.
What? No.
Concerning the same issue.
Listen what I'm saying. Give us an example of you calling Mr. Brantley, mention the issue, work with me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mention the issue, and he disrespected you. So give us the
I called the show,
yes.
and he said to me, "This is not no publisher show."
So you just call the show, and as soon as
He told
you
the same thing. He didn't acknowledge me. He didn't
No.
do anything.
caller, work with me. You, to the best of your recollection, you called the show, you went on the air,
Yes.
and as soon as Mr. Brantley heard your voice, he said, "This is not Papi show."
This is not no publisher show.
Oh, really?
You could go back, and I could call him for tomorrow. If you want.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that tomorrow.
Okay.
and
Another question.
and wait and deal with it the same way you just dealt with
Okay.
with it here, right?
The other question I want to ask you,
wait, just let us listen. We try to solve problems, right? So I'm suggesting to you that you call Mr. Brantley tomorrow evening and you address the matter.
I will do that.
I'm going to try and listen myself.
Try and listen, because I'll do that myself.
Okay, good. Continue.
The other matter is, I heard in the news today where there's a clip in the news where the Prime Minister was in Miami. I don't know if you heard that also, or if anyone of your panel heard that, where he was talking about the IMF report. And the word was, "We're not going back from the IMF report. We and the IMF people read out the same book. I don't care nothing about no IMF and them kind of behavior." Have you heard that clip with the Prime Minister in Miami, sir?
No, but I heard the Prime Minister addressing the issue of the IMF. He said something similar to what you just said, that we're not, as long as the unity is in government, they're not going back to the IMF because we have people just as something like that.
Yeah.
We're the same quality. I don't see anything wrong with it.
You don't see anything wrong with it?
No.
Okay. I understand.
I agree with him.
I heard you. Okay.
But
Let me ask you a
work
question.
with me.
Yeah, go ahead. You agree with that? No problem.
I'm not saying you mustn't disagree, but you're pointing this thing out to me, and I said I didn't see any. I don't see anything wrong with the statement.
Okay, I heard you.
So maybe if you say something is wrong with it, you can tell us what's wrong with it.
Let me ask you the other question.
Yes.
Why haven't we seen the IMF report over a year and something now?
Why haven't we seen it?
We've seen the report.
Well,
Because I can recall the same man was asking for the IMF report for the past how much years?
well, that question I cannot answer because if you're including me personally, I've never made an attempt to get it.
I didn't say you.
Okay, but here's another form of guidance. When you call the Honorable Minister tomorrow evening, the Honorable Premier, maybe you can ask him.
Must ask him
Yes.
question.
How? Yeah.
You know, it's interesting sometimes to listen to old people, though. I know, I can recall earlier this year, there was an issue with NATO. Remember that issue concerning the gun? Everybody in this country was expert. There was an issue with Larry Vaughan, everybody was expert. All of a sudden, we don't have any expert. You guys have a lovely day.
You as well. You know, the caller, you might want to know, and Mr. Brand can tell you, that the way I operate is this. If I have a particular issue with planning, I'm going to look for Mr. Brand. And I'm going to say, listen, I have an issue. So and so be the case. So that I give him the benefit. And then if he doesn't answer, or he hides, then I can say with clarity that this is what he did. This is what his response was. And so on and so forth.
Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Mark Brantley.
You're on the mark, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. I was told to call you tonight and make sure I call you early.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Mark Brantley, I listened to you a while ago. Very good presentation. But let's move on from the presentation. And this by now, I'm going to state my name, and my name is Curtis Cook. I heard you tonight say about the YouTube, people see stuff on YouTube and the whole 9 yards. Well, I know we have an incident at the airport, okay, with the minister, where I saw a video with the minister, Patches Liebert, at the airport concerning security. I called you sometime last year concerning my same situation to do with security. And for some reason, I didn't think I'd get an answer, I didn't think I'd get anywhere. But at the moment, we now seen a video with the said minister with what happened at the airport concerning security. Well, I've been waiting for the longest while for a report, because they say you're supposed to do a report. I haven't seen any report on me. I don't know, I got a letter. My ID was revoked with immediate effect. No consultation, nothing. Use a man like to talk about people must speak to people, consultation, we must do this and we must do that. Well, I'm a citizen of this country, Mr. Bradley. The good thing about the situation, with my situation, is that the good company I work for did not fire me, because I'm a very good worker. 23 years working for the company. Up until this day, nobody could give me any answers based on the situation. But I saw the video, I have the video, analyzed the video with everything what happened with the minister. We'll go into other details because I see other incidents. But you guys, like I said, don't say, because I don't have everything, hard evidence, but aside from my two eyes. But based on this video, Mr. Brantley, I think as a citizen of this country, I need answers. You see, because we're seeing everything going on, and I listen to you tonight, and as I say again, listen to your presentation based on what you're saying. I don't think that the leader on this end has the right, and people they have the right to be treating people the way how they treat people in this country. I listen to you say you fight the fight, and you fought your fight to get where you be today. But I think the ordinary citizens have the same privilege to fight the fight, speak the truth, be counted, and not be disrespected. So we need some answers concerning the situation with the said minister in the video what is out at the moment, and some answers based on the situation where my ID was revoked with immediate effect. Up until today, none of you guys have come to me, give me a call, sit down, discuss anything. So that is my presentation for tonight.
Okay.
Have a good night, Mr. Barney.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your call, Mr. Crook. I certainly appreciate your call. What I can say is that I really do not know anything about your situation in terms of you saying an ID was revoked. If an ID was revoked for you, that would have to be SCASPA. That does not fall to my administration. And so I would not know any details specifically. I've heard things said on the air. If you have not been spoken to about it, then certainly there are avenues I believe that you can pursue. I don't need to tell you what those are, but certainly I can't speak to that. The other matter that you have spoken about, where you say a video has been circulated, the radio station and news reporter in St. Kitts asked me about that matter some months ago. I indicated at the time that as Minister of Aviation, we had been made aware through media reports of this breach of security, alleged breach, let me use that language, and that we would be investigating the matter. That report, and I can call his name Ken Richards because he has been dogged in his pursuit of this story. He got in touch with me a couple of times. He asked, where's this report? And I made it pellucid that my job as Minister of Aviation was to make a report to the Prime Minister's office, to the Cabinet. Or let me put it this way, through the Prime Minister's office to the Cabinet. That is who I need to report to. It is not for me to come to the public to report on an investigation that was done. I do not feel that that is my role. That would have to be a decision that the Cabinet takes or the Prime Minister as leader of this country would take. More recently, I was again contacted by the media and I was told that some video had circulated and was in the public domain. I had not seen any such video as Minister of Aviation. I had heard about videos, but none had ever been produced, nor had I ever seen any such video. A copy of that video was delivered to me, and I handed that copy over to the technical people in the ministry, who are the ones who advise on aviation matters, and who are the experts, if you will. Those experts have done their own analysis. They have come to their conclusions, and consistent with what I think my duty is, those conclusions have been passed to the office of the Prime Minister, where I said I would report the matter to. If there's any further movement on that matter, it has to be a decision for the leader of the country and for the cabinet. It is not for me, sir, with respect, to come and answer you on air to tell you what the findings might have been. So that is my position. People may not agree, but that is how I see my duty. And I believe I've done my duty, and my office has done what it needs to do in terms of any commentary, any findings based on the technical people who are available to me and the experts in the Ministry of Aviation. Beyond that, I am unable to go. And that will be my response if anybody were to ask about the matter. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Yeah, good evening again, Mr. Mark Brown.
Yes, good evening to you.
I like the way you answer the question. And you see, these are some of the stuff where the politicians need to go to Parliament and start out the citizens. No.
Okay, now that, Edric, why you're laughing?
They don't understand that they're dealing with a brilliant man who understands how to navigate.
So that the issue was put to rest, sort of, right? He got
blown out of the water.
Okay, so, and he said that he understands and so on. The point I'm making is that's how we solve problems, right? Okay. In the interest of time, though, he went on and he said some other things. But in the interest of time, I'm going to go on to the other issue. Because with the other issue, I understand, and we dealt with it right here, that it was banded about and people were talking about it all the time. And we wouldn't touch it until it reached here. So let's go to that.
And I said to Mr. Brown, I'm glad that that he's back, because I wanted to ask him. Something was circulating, some letter was circulating about some acquisition of some property for some $1.2 million. Some other documents circulated to support that it was $1.2 million. And I just wanted to find out, how could we be spending that kind of money in a small place like Nevis, a small economy like Nevis, when people are complaining that there's nothing happening? How do we justify something like that when there are poor people around the place? I mean, I remember a couple of months ago I was here and I was trying to encourage people to come out, because you have these two ladies, we're trying to assist them because they have medical issues. And I felt so good that we could give something. And then when I look and I see that government is acquiring a property for $1.2 million, and I don't know if that was the first tranche, the second tranche. I don't know how much it cost, because we didn't have anybody to answer those questions. And I'm like, that's why people are going to remain poor, and let me differ. Let me not get too passionate about it and pass it off to whoever else is.
Last week, yourself and I think Dr. Bartlett would have alluded to this property that government would have. I did not answer the question last week because, as I told Pat after.
Well, you answered. You said you didn't have all.
I did not have all the facts in front of me. Right. I did not have all the facts.
That's what I remember.
Right. Yes, the government would have purchased some 16.5 acres of land. I think it's the Ursula Huggins property. They're in Bath and around the Bath area, and the figure is $1 million US. So I could not have answered last week because, like I said, I did not have all the facts. I wanted to answer that because I know it was asked last week, and I did not answer because, like I said, I did not have all the facts.
But now you have all the facts. Maybe you could shed a little more light on it, because people who don't know about the Ursula Huggins property, And here it says 6.5 acres.
16.
Or whatever number of acres of land it is, might not recognize that there's a house, a building on it. So I don't understand why you're discounting that. That doesn't have any, that came for free?
No, I am not discounting. That all of
No,
that
but
is
you
a
just
part-
made reference to
all
the
of that is
16
a part,
acres.
all of that is a part of the. When I did my calculation, the idea was the government was seeking to purchase some land to expand the cemetery. As you know, the cemetery is and the information is that it was either all or nothing, and that all of that property encompassed the entire estate of the late of Ursula Huggins. So it ended up with 16.5 acres at $1 million US. When I did my calculations, it worked out to just about $3.65, $3.70 a square foot. Mr. Stanley, we are in that area. You can get land for $3 and something per square foot.
No, it's a steal. It's a steal.
It is. Who's stealing from whom? And I recognize who's stealing from who. Who is going to put?
Let me
people
explain
know.
what a steal
Come on,
means.
how much of that property really though is going to be used for the cemetery? Seriously, who's going to put a cemetery up on top of a hill with such a beautiful view of St. Kitts and all over the place? I mean, so that is what it was. The purpose was to expand the cemetery. Okay,
partial.
Well, I just figured that you could have found land cheaper someplace else. I know government have land cheaper someplace else, and it's just a cemetery. Not that I have no disrespect for the dead, and I don't want, but I don't necessarily want to be buried on top of a hill, and it's incredible.
But let me
Incredible.
come in here. I had no prior knowledge of the issue, but what I'm just hearing is this: and Mr. Brand says that they wanted a bit of land to expand the cemetery, right, Mr. Brand?
That's correct.
You did not want as much as 16 acres to expand the cemetery.
No,
Right,
so,
but they said we have this land and we are going to sell all of it or nothing. You got a price and you figure this price is good, so you bought the whole thing, but you're not going to use the 16.5 acres for the cemetery.
No,
You're going to take, if it was only an acre you needed, or 2 or 3, you're going to take that, and then you can use the rest. That's correct?
Absolutely.
What's wrong with that?
Something is wrong with that.
Weber,
Remember, if you're not disclosing what you're going to use the rest for.
Weber, in my mind, I am seeing that the rest can be sold off to locals for private development, housing, whatever. But I'm seeing that some of it can be sold.
You can see, but what is the
I
plan?
am seeing that government
maybe have a profit.
Government is going to make back this money.
Yeah, right. But my what I'm seeing now, the question I have is this: what's wrong with, for instance, if I want to expand here at the radio station, and I go to the owners next door, and I said we need another acre because we need some more space for, another antenna tower or whatever. And they say, well, we have this lot, it is 5 or 15 acres, it expands down to Fort Charles. I'm selling it in a bundle. So according to the price, I say, okay, we'll take it. But at the moment, I only need or have immediate plans for 1 acre. So what's wrong with me if I think that the other 14 later on can come in handy? I don't know what I'll do with it. What's wrong with that?
The other 14 would come in, but you see, that's just it. If you had an immediate use for the cemetery expansion, I could understand that. And if you're buying just 16 point something acres of land. However, you know how we knew about this land story? Even though it was in the estimates last year, and the opposition might have been asleep or something. When we heard about it is because there was some urgency to repair the residence. So to come now and tell me it's because you wanted 1 acre of land to expand the cemetery, I do not think that is being as forthright as you could get.
Some urgency to repair the residence.
So you see what
that is
was out on social media. It was out on social media, and it wasn't something that was difficult to believe, really, because we know it's a lovely property there. It's a nice house. It's a nice home, and one couldn't think of no other reason why the government would buy. Well, we never knew it was 16 acres to start with. All I know that there was a letter asking an occupant to get out because the house need to be repaired for the premier's home.
No, they didn't say that. They didn't say that. They didn't say premier's home in the letter. The letter didn't say the premier's home.
Well, something to the worst to that.
But you see that? So maybe, you see, the way I would have liked to deal with that now is that the person who has the alternate view, show me the letter, let me read it.
The letter here if you'd like to read it.
I remember one time. And then, who's the author of the letter?
The PS.
Which PS?
The PS for the Premier's Ministry.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, let's see it.
Just
Melissa, bring that letter, let's see.
Just let me find it for you there.
Yes. I saw the letter. Dr. Battle, go ahead and read it.
I don't know that I have permission to do so.
Oh, you don't have? Okay. Well, okay, don't read it. Well, let me say what I saw. There's not anything in there about any Premier's residence. No. To me, it is standard. Now, I bought, hypothetically, because I can't afford it, hypothetically, I bought Mr. Stanley's property with the gas station and the building there, the superette, right? Mr. Brand was the occupant. So I bought it from Mr. Stanley. A month later, I write Mr. Brand. I say, Mr. Brand, I'm now the owner of this property. I have something else to do with it. I'm giving you 2 months or 3 months in which to vacate it. What's wrong with that?
Nothing at all.
We had that case with the superfoods sale. Superfoods.
That is, in essence, what the letter that I just saw says. Naya, what's wrong with that?
In essence,
nothing sound like you wrong with it.
Well, the only observation.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
What I'm saying is,
put it in context.
That is in context of what?
You must put it in context.
I can't listen. The only information, for instance, that I have, and that is why I said it is important to bring the evidence and all that, right? So when we were discussing it further, we end up, there is a letter that is being circulated. And what did I say? I'd like to see the letter. Now, let me veer on to something else. I had an honorable gentleman one evening on this program. It's public, it was in the public, and it's on tape. And he purported to read, he was a government minister at the time, he purported to read from a document that he has, some sort of agreement or something, and giving information. And I said, can I get a copy? Can I see it? He said, it's right here, written here. I said, yeah, but can I get a copy? He said, yes. So I sent my technical person, go and get a copy for me. That's about 12 years ago. I haven't gotten the copy up to now. Haven't gotten the copy up to now, but the person offered to say what was written. I said, well, I'd like to see it. You see what I'm saying? I didn't distrust the person as a friend of mine, but I said, can I see it? Right? So that letter, as I said, fits into the hypothetical that I was even giving before. What's wrong with it? If a person buys a property, a matter of fact, it might be a dangerous thing to leave the other person there. I was...
Not if he...
It could be.
Yeah,
I was in a transaction for somebody already, overseeing it, and there was a person occupying the property. And you know what I said to Mr. Stanley, hypothetically? Mr. Stanley, I'm going to buy the property, but first you got to get Naya off of there. You're not going to leave. You got to get Naya from there. That was a condition under which
you'll purchase.
I'll purchase. Yeah. Because I figured that I might have a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't understand what's wrong with the letter. And by the way, I'm not defending Mr. Brand, not defending Mr. Brantley. They don't need any defenders. I'm just looking at the thing, because this is really the first I'm hearing of this issue. But I just don't like unfairness. You know what I'm saying?
I gather that there's been some foolish chatter on one of the greatest talk show programs that we have in radio in the region, Let's Talk, where the heavyweights gather. I used to be there until I lose some weight, and they throw me off and tell me go and get my own show. I'm too slim now for the heavyweights. That's okay. But I hear there was some foolish chatter about Mark Brantley and his government buying some land and some house to get house for the Premier. I had heard something some weeks ago, but I did not pay it any mind, because I said to myself, since I have known myself, God has blessed me with a roof over my head. I consider it a privilege. But I have a home. My wife put two words on it. I can't even pronounce them properly. She's the one who knows about them things. One fella tell me the house name Ilang Ilang. Ilang Ilang. When you go in the registry, ask them about Ilang Ilang. And you will see there on the title, Mark and Sharon Brantley. That, through the grace of God, belongs to me and my wife. So what are you trying to say? That me not have nowhere to live? That I am somehow seeking a home away from home? What nonsense. Ladies and gentlemen, the government was approached by a lawyer here. I won't get into who the lawyer is, but a lawyer approached us. And the lawyer says her client has a house, which is a nice house, but one that has seen some wear and tear. But most importantly, a large parcel of land with the house that they want to sell for $1 million US. They offered the government terms on payment, and we've been trying our best to pay off it. We want to expand the cemetery because we understand that the main cemetery here at what we call the Britannic, that we're having space issues. So we look into the future. And so we acquired a large tract of land at a very attractive price, which happens to have an old house on it. Where this chatter come from about the Premier build house for himself? You know, in a way I feel slightly insulted, you know, because people making me out to be homeless. I am not homeless. Once the grace of God is with me, I hope when I leave here, I will go home to Ilang Ilang. That's where I rest my head. So I sometimes wonder at what passes as sensible conversation among sensible people. That the Premier look in a house, go build a house for himself, the Premier. That's quite foolish. But if even there was a structure somewhere that was the Premier's residence, it don't belong to Mark Brantley, you know. Well, what do you think? That Mark Brantley will always be Premier? Sim Daniel was a Premier. Vance Amry was a Premier. Joseph Parry was a Premier. Premiers come and premiers go. That is the nature of life. It takes me back to what I was saying earlier. So if a building is put up as the Premier's residence, clearly for official purposes, what is the problem with that? The government has no plans to do so. But I'm simply saying, if even that was done, whether by us or another government were to decide to do so, what's the problem?
Okay, so I don't know what the problem, but here is the point. Those were two issues that I learned, I gathered, were bandied about for months. Right? Keep going back and forth. The way I like to deal with issues and problems, you got something, you bring it. You state your case, you state your point, right? And you get it solved. Now, with the one with the land for the cemetery, last one I was dealt with. We have Mr. Brand. Mr. Brand says this is what it was for. Somebody else said there was other issues. Now they didn't replay the part, but I remember saying whoever else have alternative facts or usage must bring it. And you got to be careful, as I told the gentleman who was in the first call, right? because he normally calls with other issues. You got to be careful with people just putting things out there, and you have no name and no face for it. It's called mischief, and that is one of the things that I was speaking about in terms of what's happening. People are putting out a lot of false information and so some people are going to believe. But responsible people, as we try to be here, we try and get the facts and see whether or not something makes sense. As I said, I never knew anything, a lot about it, but based on what we gathered, and then Mr. Brantley dealt with both issues. When the gentleman told me first, if you realize, that Mr. Brantley had said that they were doing a report and he was going to issue after the investigation. But the guy wanted me to go ahead and deal with it. You see what I'm saying? So Mr. Brantley dealt with it, and see what happened. In the end, when Mr. Brantley was finished, the guy said, okay, he's satisfied. And that's what I started out by asking him, well, did you speak with Mr. Brantley? He said, oh, when he called Mr. Brantley, he said, he's a Papi show. This ain't a Papi show. Right? But at least he called Mr. Brantley and they dealt with it, right? The other issue which we had here, right? Somebody who's the author of it in the fire analysis, that they're building a house for the premier. So I don't have a problem with people saying things, but I instruct and guide and inform people how we deal with that. Edric.
Well, I didn't know you have this thing coming, and this is like the 500-pound bomb that the United States dropped, or maybe the bomb that were dropped on Hiroshima and was it Nagasaki? Had I known, I might have kept my comments earlier without saying them. I labeled it a political dung basket, and I ask you if you, in fact, knew what a dung basket was. Because normally people will give you a basket to carry water. But when they actually set it up, knowing that it just would not have legs, and you will look foolish, don't do it. And let me tell you, Naya, be careful, because you're being drawn into an alliance, and if you don't watch out, you too can get the dagger coming at you. Stand your ground, stand individually, think for yourself, and when you go forward, don't carry somebody down in a basket which can't hold water. So I'm saying, I would not have gone forward with that issue.
Is that hypothetical?
No, I'm being factual and straightforward.
It must be, because everyone knows that Naya has a mind of his own. So I don't understand why you want to.
You mean I sit here and I don't have the capacity to analyze and to come up with my own judgment call?
It doesn't mean that you're right.
I know I'm right.
Oh dear. Okay.
And therefore, this is just one issue that has come to fruition, come to a head, that would demonstrate clearly that he's been drawn into an alliance which has consequences. Think for yourself. Because when I heard it...
What is it about the house, you mean?
Right. When I heard it, I said to myself, well, I don't know anything about it until I get more information. But when it came to the fore and Mr. Brand answered, I said, all right, well, he's the appropriate man to deal with it, not knowing what the facts were. But being in the industry, knowing the property itself, I have been into the house. Mr. Huggins was an IBM executive, and he built a nice house, and he was able to pick up that property for peanuts. So he might have made a profit, but there are a lot of people who have invested their money, Americans, in Nevis, loving Nevis, and at a certain point in time, they will in fact dispose of that property, not at a massive gain.
So,
And in this regard, the government got an opportunity to buy this property at peanuts cost. The calculation had not been done in terms of the math, and thus it becomes a political football, thinking that the government gonna get licks simply to have purchased the property for that kind of money. And people would always find bogus reasons to criticize. But this thing has blown up. Well, luckily, we try to disseminate truthful information. And when somebody gives oil, a political dung basket to carry water in,
Can I respond? Because Stanley has been been going around in circles just saying the same thing over and over. Look now, Stanley, let me just, I cannot speak for Naya. He's going to speak for himself. If when I speak, daggers are thrown at me, I can take them. Because guess what? We're only here for a short time, you know, Stanley. So whoever wants to throw daggers, they could throw daggers. Putting that aside, though, I just want to respond on what I would have heard. I've heard a lot said since we had because I'm a citizen of St. Kitts Nevis, and more particularly, as you would say, a person of Nevis. And when I heard about it, I brought it and I asked Mr. Brand. He obviously didn't know enough about it to respond. And my position is, if he's a member of cabinet and these things come up, he ought to know. I don't know what his excuse was for not knowing, but I was not going to push him. He came back and he gave one version of what he thought the property was for. I'm saying, and I'm still not, I'm hearing things about being debunked and all the rest of it. I heard it even here on the good old one, you know, that this thing was debunked. And I'm like, how do you make a statement like that? Debunk, you know what I mean? I guess it's being used loosely because nothing has been debunked, you know. Because when I brought the issue, I said I brought this issue because a letter was written making a reference to a house that ought to have been repaired. Until now, we still have not heard any response as to why it was that the house was going to be repaired, since the house apparently has no value. Apparently, it's just the land you're after. Questions that I would ask as a citizen. I'm asking, well, we have heard about other people's property being taken. If you wanted 2 acres to expand the cemetery, you can approach them and say, look, we are interested in getting that 2 acres to expand the property, expand the cemetery. Because there's a facility in law that facilitates you doing something like that. So all the back and forth has still not satisfied me as a citizen that the 16.5 acres would have been purchased for a cemetery. Because you could have done, like I said, you could have done what they call compulsory acquisition, and you could have offered them a fair compensation for the land and taken it. You didn't have to take a house that had no value. So I'm not so sure that I am comfortable with it, but I could leave it there. But to suggest that I am carrying someone else's dung basket is disrespectful to me, because I have a mind of my own and I can think. And I looked at what was said. I looked at what was presented as it relates to the letter. I looked at the estimates, and I recognize, okay, if indeed you say that it is being purchased for the cemetery, then for me, I know that the cemetery comes under agriculture. Why was it not purchased under that head? Why was it not under the Ministry of Agriculture? Why was it on the Premier's ministry that the purchase was being made? But like I said, you know, so don't try to disrespect people by saying things like that. If you think, and we all have the capacity to think, it's just that some of us think on the surface and some of us think a little deeper. But I can leave it there because I have no political gain from it, and nobody gonna set me up because I can think for myself, and I've demonstrated that before. So I don't know, and I could probably speak for himself, but I don't think that it is fair to come and, because you don't understand the complexities of the situation, to come and suggest that other people don't.
You think I don't understand the complexity? I am into real estate. I know real estate, and you have no knowledge that the house is of some great value still, even though you think it is of no value. I can go there. I don't have to go there.
But you don't understand sarcasm. If you really think that I think that it has no value, you really don't understand what sarcasm is.
Well,
what was said here is that Brand said, okay, we got 16.5 acres. And I said, well, Brand, I had to remind him that our residence was on the 16.5 acres. So it had nothing to do initially with the 16.5 acres. The initial concern, as we found out, was that the interest was in the residents, and there was an attempt to get the residents in good order, I would imagine, for somebody to occupy. I'm not saying that, and I think I preface everything that I said last week by saying, not last week, the week before, by saying that I do not know the Premier to be homeless. He lives in my neighborhood. I know he has a nice house. So that's it. I didn't say it was for him. He said for the Premier's residence. So anybody could be Premier. But the point was, are we in a position, and I heard the Premier say something as if, well, even if, we are not at the level of discussing the even if yet, because there would be a lot to be said if we were to go down that road about even if, because Jamaica has a residence for the Prime Minister. Doesn't mean that we can afford one. But like I said, that is a different argument for a different night.
People out there listening, and those people who may not understand the magnitude of the argument, and hear you say that the house is of no value, they'll believe you.
Oh, dear Jesus.
I'm telling you, they'll believe you. So therefore, you cannot say things that are incorrect and that are misleading. And in that regard, on the house, even though you want to use sarcasm, I'm saying to you, there are people out there who would not pick it up as sarcasm. They'll pick it up as a factual statement.
Well, obviously you didn't.
No, I can't pick it up as sarcasm. I picked it up as to tell you that you may not even know the value of the building that's there, because for some reason you want to say you think deep, but you operated on the surface. And I'm just saying to you again,
I did not.
Politically,
I pointed out that Grant was just focusing on the 16.5 acres.
Politically, it doesn't mean that you have taken it from some other political entity.
I think we should give Naya a chance, but I'm not the host.
More than it was thrown into the political realm, and it doesn't have to come from a CCM party, an NRP party, a Labour Party, or the Unity Party.
So what's wrong with public suspicion?
Do your homework.
What's wrong with public suspicion?
Do your homework.
But I'm pretty sure you have done yours, Stanley.
We are members of the public. We employ people called members of parliament. So we cannot be suspicious about them. We cannot be suspicious about them. I mean, what's the issue? You want to run a government and nobody question nothing when you're not explaining nothing?
Well, get it right.
You want to make moves and spend poor people money, public money, do things, and of course with no proper explanation, reaching the public. So what's wrong with public suspiciousness in that respect? It's a dictatorship you want to encourage here or what?
No.
So what's wrong if we question into purchase made by the government? We may not get it right at the time, but what's wrong with questioning into that? And an explanation come forward and, okay, but we can still be critical about it.
There are consequences based on what you
consequences in your kind of world, in you guys' kind of world, in a sense that we cannot speak. We cannot speak. We cannot be suspicious about your actions as government. And you're talking about dumb basket, Mr. Stanley. When you're going to sit here and congratulate a government who have failed to open school on time, who's carrying dumb basket for who? You, Mr. Stanley.
One thing.
So why can't we be vocal? Why can't we discuss matters, even though sometimes we're not absolutely right? Maybe out of that just the truth will come, as we have seen tonight. What is the problem with that? You guys must.
So you throw out a sprat to catch a whale, and when you look.
No, you ask for explanation. You're a citizen and you're entitled.
You're entitled to explanation.
You're entitled. And when you start sitting back and see people going to throw daggers at me, I don't understand what kind of democracy you
we have heard about the
democracy.
purchase, and we have heard a lot of things. Yes, it was good that Dr. Bartlett aired it here, and we have got an explanation which is of some degree, satisfied.
I never said I was satisfied with it.
Bring some satisfaction, or at least, the various allegations that's been made about government, ministers about government, sometimes, yes, we need an explanation. And when it's not forthcoming, we think that there's something, somebody's hiding something.
Something fishy about it.
Something fishy about it. This is what makes a good democracy. This is what makes healthy debate.
No,
This
Stanley,
is what
would rather
make
you
good
just shut
politics.
up and say
No,
what
You
I'm
are the
just-
people just to shut up and you guys run around people's mind, thieving people's money and doing foolishness with people and prioritize ignorance.
Now you got to
Who
be
gives you
responsible.
down back to carry when you come on here, come talk about you congratulating
Nobody gives me down
government
back.
for opening, for not opening
And I'm
school
just-
on time?
I'm just saying to you, that
You know,
when
you
when
sometimes affront people and you don't even know.
When you-
And that seems to be something, it's a shortcoming on your part.
No,
Mr.
my
Stanley.
thing is to guide people to be forthright, forthcoming, and to be truthful. So
but you
know,
can't
People don't need to be guided by you every time because there are times you don't know where you're going. You know, people have a mind and people approach things differently. You know, there are times people want information and yes, they would say something provoking and maybe that's what, you know, caused the information to come their way. People are not certain about things. Look, you guys run a government here and yes,
Let me
there's
ask you
questions of
pointedly.
corruption constantly. People doesn't come forward and clarify things, you know. The media houses them, some of them are afraid to ask. Sometimes I think they're not doing their job properly in terms of probing the people and pushing the mic in the face and asking for a proper answer. This is what make a proper democracy, healthy politics, you know. So don't come talk
So
about
let me
people,
ask you
people
factually.
giving people dumb basket to carry as if people can't think for themselves.
Let me ask you, so you threw that out as a thought-provoking issue, or you deliberately thought?
I'm just a member of the public, you know.
Huh? I understand.
I'm
We all
just
are
a
members of the public.
you know.
But I'm asking you now, what was the reason for your being associated with this comment? Was it
What comment?
just the purchase? Was it just to get the information
It's
that
for-
you wanted?
I'm
asking you
Well,
pointedly.
it was of concern to me that a property is being bought. I know the Huggins property very well. I did all the welding did. I got furnitures in the property. I was good friend of the lady, you know. And so I want to know, well, what is going on? Really and truly, the first information that come for me that there was a house being bought and it was to be the Premier's residence. No, I know they have residents of the government officials, Prime Minister all around the Caribbean. But I was thinking, well, really and truly, is that the priority for Nevis at this point? And that's where my concern lie. Not in the fact that all government shouldn't buy bam, bam, bam. I know Mark have a house. We are not questioning that. We're questioning whether or not that should have been priority. Well, of course, now we learn something else. What is wrong with the investigation on the public's behalf? What is wrong with that?
You put in the cart before the horse. And I'm saying to you, we are in a society, and we should be able to.
It's not a society.
get
You
the
guys gonna
information.
control, you know, in terms of what
And
goes
when-
through people's mind. People's mind is gonna think.
When
You
we get
understand?
the information,
It's not a society that you and your friends gonna control.
you trust,
You
but
know?
you must verify. You trust the information, but you must verify the information as to whether or not the information is factual and truthful.
Yes,
Well,
but what
that's
what
what
was
we're doing.
presented? What was presented here, which was not factual? Mr. Stanley,
Huh?
what was presented here, which was not factual?
Answer your own question.
Okay, but anyway, I think I would have made my point when one does something, and I think in his response, Mr. Brantley went on to say something about Yilang, something which suggested, you know, something about beneficial ownership, and that probed, you know, when you have to probe things, because like I said, okay, but it's just how you do things. I mean, maybe it was intended for the cemetery. I don't know what the intention was, but what I'm saying to you is, when you look at what is presented, if you're going to purchase cemetery land, what I would recommend to the Premier next time, if you're going to purchase something for the cemetery or under agriculture, make the purchase under that, under agriculture, the head agriculture. If you make it under Premier's ministry, then the Premier's permanent secretary is the one who's going to follow up, and obviously people are going to think that it is something that is just within the interest of that particular ministry, and that is what had happened here, because everything was coming. The letter came out that went to the chap to asking him to vacate, and that came from the Premier's ministry. I mean, if you wanted to do for the cemetery, one would think that it would come from the Ministry of Agriculture, because that's where the cemetery comes on, the Ministry of Agriculture. So when you add one on one, you know, you expect to get two. If you add one on one and you ain't coming out to two, then you must ask questions. and to suggest that people ought not to do that, or else daggers are going to be thrown at them. I mean, daggers have been thrown. If you condone that kind of living and then you still want to talk about the virtues of democracy, then maybe you need to revisit what your understanding of democracy is. Because in a democracy, one would think that as a citizen, I should have the right to ask a question. If you did a purchase and it was done in an unusual manner, then why is it done? You know, what is it? You know, red lights must go off. If I don't question, and I would just be like the person who just accepts everything without question, and that does not reflect a society where you have 98% literacy and people who would have gone beyond just the literacy level. And that is the problem, maybe. Just too many of us are just stuck. We're comfortable that we're 98% literate and the next level. But there's some of us who are ahead of that. And you need to give us the credit and the respect that is due. Because I am not coming here trying to make my cousin look bad. That is not the point. But there's such a thing as accountability. Understand? Yes. If you're going to do something on my behalf, I ought to know what it is you're doing. So when I asked Mr. Brand the question, I wasn't trying to put him on a spot. I asked him what was the plan. Because if you're operating on, because I can't make those decisions and I'm not in a position to do so. So when I ask you, what is the plan, you ought to be able to articulate what the plan is, because you're there to represent all of us. And this is not anything that was directed at Mark Brantley. I never called Mark Brantley's name. And I would never do that, because as a cabinet, they have collective responsibility, everybody inside there, just as responsible as the other person, to make whatever the decisions are that come to that place. So Mr. Brand ought to know what the property was bought for, how much it was bought for, and all the rest of it. I mean, that is just standard, I would think.
So if the property had been bought, 1 acre for the cemetery, it should have been bought under the auspices of the Department of Agriculture. So what are the other 15 acres for? So therefore, is it an illegal act, doing it through another ministry or using another system for the acquisition? So what you're saying, because it is supposed to be for the cemetery, and you've been told that they might take an acre, as the case might be. I'm not 100% certain whether you've been told or it's been said. But then the additional part, does it give another ministry of government or another arm of government, another facet of government, the constitutional right to do the purchase, and therefore what they did was correct?
No, but if you're purchasing lands, that goes under Lands and Housing, it still doesn't fall under the Premier's Ministry. But like I said, I am not saying what was legal or what was not, you know. All I'm stating is, had it been done under agriculture, then there would be less of a concern as to what the purpose was. Because you're like, okay, government acquire lands. Yes, they do that. That's not the first time government would have acquired land. But for you to get upset that people ask a question, which is, you know, it's just contrary to what you've been preaching earlier about democracy.
No, I'm saying to you that the Housing and Land Development Corporation, I've seen houses that they've built, and I've said it here in the program, and I think somewhere along the line the houses are a little expensive. When I can do the math and figure out exactly what those houses should truly cost, because I've been sent many times, just about a week ago I probably did say them, simply because the prices are not correct, the numbers are just not correct. So I'm just saying to you, should Housing and Land be always the agency through which land be purchased, or another facet of government? I'm just giving you an opportunity to clear yourself, because what you're saying is pronto, it must be done under the Department of Agriculture.
No. I never said what must be done or what must not be done. I'm just saying that the convention is, and I'm just saying if you're going to divert from that, you ought to have an explanation.
But
that's simple.
But you would agree that the latter part of this discussion was not directly hinged to the meat of the issue that we were dealing with, right? We would agree with that.
Factually, we're looking for the facts.
No, what I'm saying is the latter part of this discussion, right, is not directly hinged to what we started out doing.
I think
Right? You agree with that?
no, I won't agree. I think
yeah,
everything
yeah.
is interrelated, interconnected.
What I'm saying is that what I was dealing with, I was showing how we try to deal with certain issues to see whether or not, you identify sometimes even mischief, right? As we will be going forward, we'll have to deal with a lot of them as well.
With the facts.
Because a campaign is coming up.
Yeah.
People are going to deliberately put
Things out there.
bad information out there and
Because
see
give me
whether or
facts.
not you spend a lot of time chasing them, as Trump is doing right now. Whenever there is something with him, he just makes up something and send you to chase that. You see, so what I'm saying is you got to keep focused. And especially when you don't know where something comes from, people may just throw that in to push you off. So you gotta keep focused and cut through the chase. That's all I'm saying.
Again, we have to deal with the facts. And you have to trust, but verify. And if somebody says something and you feel that it has political legs, and you think you can make some mileage out of it, for whatever
Talking
reason,
about political legs, we're running out of time, but I heard another political party is about to launch. Anybody else heard that?
I have not heard it well.
Because I have the ability to get the first scoop.
Well, sure.
So I want everybody to make sure they don't miss any Let's Talk, because who knows, you might just miss the night when we launch the next political party.
Well, but we have to stay focused, stay with it, and again, make sure that when we bring something to the table, we don't have all
Dung basket.
16 tons a day.
This program repeats tomorrow at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On Demand. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community. You all have a wonderful evening.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Navis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers. With all